So 2 games, 2 draws, two, in my opinion, completely different games that ended in the same results with the same frustrations for the fans. Here's what scares me the most about this Rangers team. So obviously the away leg was bad enough, but arguably this home leg against Limassol, drawing one each in the manner that we did and the way we played, I'd argue that it just felt worse. Now when we started the game we had a very, very quick, 10-20 minutes or so, but we quickly realised there were some obvious missing links with that squad, obvious pieces of the puzzle that just weren't quite fitting right. Now right off the bat you could absolutely tell that Limassol were hoping to absorb a bit of pressure and have a go at us, float those balls over the top in the same way in the Aberdeen game and leave a pacey striker or a pacey forward player on our 2 centre backs, and it ended up working. But again, it's one of those things that these goals do happen, but it's the manner in which they happened, and I've said it a number of times over the course of previous games and previous poor performances, and it's that we simply can't go on any longer with losing possession in that way in the opponent's final third, because it's almost like it takes 1 or 2 players to completely break down an attack, and at the end of the day our centre backs are not the paciest, and obviously when Lundstrom drops back in to help out he's not the paciest either. Yes, he's physical, but pacey isn't a label you'd give him, which means that there's one thing that you absolutely need to make sure in that front line, and it's do not give possession away cheaply. Mistakes are punished even more in those forward areas than they ever have been, and it's been our downfall over the course of the season so far. At the start of the season we were wondering how long it's going to take before these new players, the likes of Lammers, Dessers, Danilo, these Cifuentes, how long is it going to take for them to gel? And as games go on we realise how big these mistakes are that have been made. As Kieran said in previous videos, you can defend from the front, but at the same time you can do that by pressing, but at the same time you can defend from the front in possession, and it's not giving possession away cheaply. It's making sure you're picking the right pass, it's making sure you're thinking on your feet, and it's making sure that the players out of possession are in decent spaces and willing to gamble. But we just don't see anything like that from this team. For me, Lammers is looking like a bigger and bigger mistake every time a game goes on. I don't quite know what his role is in the team. I don't quite know, what his strengths are. You can only see really his weaknesses. You don't really know where you can put him on the pitch to have the best impact on the game, because so far in every single game we've played I've seen absolutely no impact from him whatsoever. The only impact we've got for Lammers is the fucking ball off the post. And when I said at the start there's a couple of things that I think with the downfall of Rangers this season, another one I've got to add to the list is the struggling Cifuentes. He was probably one of our most hyped up signings during the summer, and he was one that I definitely hyped up. A lot of other people in the Rangers community definitely hyped up, because he seemed to be a player with a lot of potential. But we've just not seen it. We've not seen it at all this season. He's looked like he's struggled in every single game, whether it's getting the ball caught under his feet, whether it's poor passing accuracy, whether it's looking completely flat-footed. He's just seemed like he's struggled massively in every single game. Keep up with the tempo, keep up with the pace of the play, keep up with the standards that the manager's demanding for the whole team. And again, when I talk about that losing possession in the opposition's half in the final third, he's one of those players that's up there in terms of causing those mistakes the most. And obviously later on in the first half we've seen the removal of Todd Cantwell for the team, and it was a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest. I wouldn't say he was playing amazing, but I wouldn't say it warranted a 30 odd minute substitution. And I think that, to me it seemed like Clement was wanting to put a stamp on a player, an impression on a player. Seems like he was trying to use Cantwell as a scapegoat, and to be honest I didn't really agree with it at all. Yes, McCausland come on, he had a great impact. I think he played well. He still seems a bit raw, but I think that obviously he's a young lad, there's a lot of potential there, and I think it was a good player to bring on. Would I brought him on For Cantwell, no, especially not when Lammers is still on that pitch, which was completely mind-blowing to me. The fact that he's sticking with Lammers in the past few games and stuck with him through most of that game, it's beyond fucking belief. But on the topic of McCausland, the finish was absolutely superb. We can see he's got quick feet, we can see he's braving the ball. Yes, there's still mistakes in there, but he's a player that I see no reason why we would ever, going forward, start Lammers over him in any game of football. Yet part of me firmly believes that we'll see Lammers in the next game, but it's these kind of decisions that almost turn the fans against a manager. And you know he's only in the door for a couple of months, but that potential is there. The team selection's absolutely massive, especially when you pick a player, you back a player, he goes on the pitch and he doesn't perform. If you go back and pick him again week after week after week, keep him on that pitch and bring, less deserving players off the park and leave him on, obviously it's going to cause massive frustration with the fans, and you could tell that when Cantwell was coming off. In a stadium like Ibrox where there's so much expectation, it only takes that kind of moment where it's just a quick mistake and the fans can turn against you. And to be honest, when that happened, I couldn't really, there was a big part of me that just felt we're really, really going to struggle this game. Now, 1-1 draw is pretty demoralising. Obviously, for mathematically, it's not the end of the world for the group, albeit we have to go away to Betis, which is easily the hardest game of the group, and we were hoping to have this group mopped up by that stage. But here we are, 2 brutal results against Limassol has left us desperate at the latter stages of this group phase. And the thing is, all of these problems that have been in this squad, whether it's selection, whether it's players not turning up, whether it's the mentality of that old guard, whether it's mistakes in terms of substitutions, individual player mistakes, the list can go on and on and on. All of these things combined pretty much tell us that the players in the squad are nowhere near good enough. They're nowhere near good enough to challenge. They're nowhere near good enough to take a group in the Europa League, which, by the way, in previous seasons became one of the highlights of the season. No matter how we played domestically, we could always go in with a sense of excitement in every single Europa League fixture. But this season's one of those seasons where every single fixture we go into, every single game we go into, you're always going to be anxious. You always feel like there's never a secure 3 points. Now, obviously, following Rangers this season so far has been a complete roller coaster. We've went from videos that have been completely doom and gloom to videos that have kind of picked up and we thought, right, maybe things are turning around, and then we go back to that doom and gloom kind of attitude. But when you kind of sit back and look at the performances over the course of the season, and you look at the way we've played and you look at the way the players carry themselves on the pitch, yes, there's shining lights within that team, players that are playing well. Yes, we've had an injury list to deal with, but at the end of the day, the players that we've got at our disposal in any of those games should be more than capable of seeing off teams like Limassol. Now, what I want you to do is let me know in the comments what you thought about tonight's game. Do you agree with the opinions I have in the game or in the season as a whole? Or do you think there's still ample room to turn a corner with this squad? Just remember, we've got a link in the description to the BlueSea channel memberships if you want to join that. It's a great way to support us and help us invest a wee bit more back into the content to make it as good as we can for you. As I said, the link to that is down in the description alongside our socials, and I'll see you next time.